Welcome to Notable Approvals. I am attorney Amanda Shaffer. Before we get to our case today, just a reminder, make sure you like or follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss any more of our lives. So today's case is about a client who is a native and citizen of Chile. She first contacted us back in 2017. And that had to do with her F1 student status. So she had entered the US in 2015 as a student, attended a bunch of classes, and by the end of 2016, she had finished all the ESL classes at her school, wanted to switch schools, continue her studies, but she wanted to go visit her family first in Chile. So she went to her DSO, which is her designated school officer, and asked them, can I leave the US and re-enter with my F1 and not jeopardize my status? Because I want to take a little bit of time off to see my family. The DSO said yes. So in January of 2017, she left the US. A month later, she came back to the US, entered with her B2, her F1 student visa. She started at that point searching for a new school to enroll in. And then in March, she got some letter from her old school asking if she was going to re-enroll and saying that she wasn't enrolled and that it might affect her status. And she was like very confused because according to her DSO, she was taking a little bit of time off. She thought it was an excused absence, not being in school full time. Because of course, if you're here as an F1 student, unless you have permission, you have to take classes full time. You have to be a full-time student. So she thought she had that permission. So when she found out she wasn't enrolled in schools, the DSO said, you're going to need to reinstate your status. So that's when she contacted us. Now, unfortunately for this client at that time, there was a lot of changes going on with regards to what you have to do to apply to reinstate your student status. It was like you have to change status, you have to be enrolled for the semester, except the problem is that the change of status was taking so long, and it was kind of a mess for everybody at that time. So we were waiting and waiting and waiting. We got a request for evidence for her. We told her that they need more evidence of this. Basically, they wanted proof of what the DSO said, which wasn't that easy because people don't always like to admit mistakes. But she'd said to us, look, I've been with my U.S. citizen boyfriend now for a long time. We were planning to get married. I'll go back to school, but I don't need to do the reinstatement right now. I want to focus on this. She said, okay. So not too long after that, they did get married, and we filed a I-130 marriage petition and green card application along with the employment authorization document and travel document for her. And they really had no problem getting approved. They had been together for a while. The types of evidence we submitted includes a joint lease agreement. They had a joint bank account that they had just opened. They took some vacations together, so we included photos of them on the vacation together, as well as plane tickets. Then they had a lot of greeting cards. Some were written from one to the other. Others were written from family members to the both of them. But essentially, they were very, detailed greeting cards that we made copies of. And then, of course, pictures. My, of course, least favorite, if you've ever heard me talk about photos before, and that's only because USCIS weighs things like photos like at the very bottom of the barrel in terms of what type of evidence you can submit. But if you give context surrounding the pictures, like who's in them, where are you, what are you doing, pick pictures that are more exciting, like vacation photos, birthday photos, anniversary, those photos have a little bit more meaning and actually, do a little bit more for you than just submitting a photo without any context. That doesn't usually do it. Oh, and we also had affidavits from family members and friends, and those were very detailed as well, because even though they had been together for a while, they were just starting to form their life together. So they had like the joint bank account, but it was just a letter saying they opened it. We didn't have transactions. But that wasn't a problem because by the time they went to their interview, they had a lot more evidence, use of the bank account, etc. The only other issue that I wanted to talk about with their case that came up was that they got married in the US, at City Hall. They planned to have another ceremony in Chile. And we told them very clearly, you can't leave the US until you get your advanced parole travel document, because if you do, you're going to be abandoning your green card application, and chances are you're not going to get back in here without a waiver. So, and we've had plenty of clients make plans like this outside the country, and we always kind of caution, we really don't know how long the process is going to take. The travel document should take 4 or 5 months approximately, but plenty of times it takes longer. So they were waiting and waiting and waiting, and I remember they kept asking me, and then they wanted to leave right before they ended up getting their interview, but then there was COVID, and the interview got canceled. And I believe they ended up not going even after getting the travel document because COVID grounded all the planes. But they were very anxious to leave, and they made the right decision in waiting. Not if they missed the interview, we could have rescheduled it. We would have known that we would have gotten the interview notice. We would have known in advance that they were coming back or were not coming back to the US for the interview. We would have immediately rescheduled it. But of course, COVID kind of knocked everybody's plans, out pretty much last year. But the important thing was that they took our advice. They stayed here, and now she has a green card and does not have to worry about her traveling outside the US. Of course, she has a conditional green card. They were married at less than 2 years at the time of their green card interview. So in 2 years from the date that her green card was issued, she will have to, hello, Emmanuel, thank you for joining us. She will have to apply to remove the conditions on her residence. But I know that they are living very happily married together, and we don't anticipate any problems. So, like I said, there are the lessons to be learned here, that just because you go out of status, there are certain ways to still adjust your status and get a green card. Primarily, you have to be an immediate relative, and that would be a spouse of a U.S. citizen or a parent of a U.S. citizen over the age of 21. And no matter what, always be wary. Make sure you can cancel any plans you make outside the U.S. while you're waiting for the green card and for the travel document, because you need to wait until you have a valid travel document before you leave. That is all today for notable approvals. Don't forget to like us and follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that, so you don't miss another live. If you need us, you need legal help, our contact information has been scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to contact us. We'd be happy to help. So that is all for now. Have a great night.